Welcome back to the channel. As you can see from the title, I'm going to be doing my Pro Bowl pick versus who actually made it in. My picks are in no particular order. Yes, I'm a Ravens fan, but I'm not being biased. These are just my picks of who I believe earned it. I'm also going to be doing the major awards for the end of the season, MVP, those types of things. Also, as I say my picks, you'll be able to see who actually made it in. So, starting off with quarterbacks. As far as the AFC, I have Lamar Jackson for the Ravens, Tua Tagovailoa for the Dolphins, and Josh Allen for the Bills. I believe they snubbed Josh Allen. I don't know how Pat Mahomes made it before him when it's probably the interceptions, but Josh Allen leads all players in touchdowns. For the NFC, I have Jared Goff for the Lions, Brock Purdy for the 49ers, Jordan Love for the Packers. As you can see, Dak Prescott for the Cowboys and Matthew Stafford for the Rams got in. I can see why those guys got in, but I feel like Brock Purdy and Jordan Love earned it a little bit more. Next up, we have running backs. As far as the AFC, I have Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans, Raheem Mostert for the Dolphins, and Travis Etienne Jr. James Cook played a hell of a year, but I believe Travis Etienne Jr. did just a little bit more. As far as the NFC, Christian McCaffrey for the 49ers, Kyron Williams for the Rams, and I believe these guys were a dynamic duo. If they didn't split their carries up so much, it would have been an easy pick for either one of these guys. Going with Detroit Lions, David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs. But DeAndre Swift, I can see why he made it in. Next up, we have fullbacks. For the AFC, I have Pat Ricard, but I can see why Alec Ingold for the Dolphins got in because of the production that Raheem Mostert has. I can see why he's in. As far as the NFC, we agree with Kyle Juszczyk. Moving on to wide receivers. For the AFC, I have Tyreek Hill, Amari Cooper, Courtland Sutton, Keenan Allen, and Nico Collins. Jamar Chase had a great year, but I feel like they snubbed Courtland Sutton and Nico Collins, especially Nico Collins playing so well with a rookie quarterback. As far as the NFC, I have CeeDee Lamb, Puka Nacua, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mike Evans, DK Metcalf. As you can see, A.J. Brown was the one who actually got it in. I feel like DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown are the exact same player. Give or take either one of those guys, you can't go wrong. Next up, we have tight ends. Me and the NFL seem to agree on the tight ends. I ended up picking 3 because I made my list before I saw who actually got in. That's the beauty of this thing. I have, for the AFC, I have Travis Kelce for the Chiefs, David Njoku for the Browns, and Mark Andrews for the Ravens. It has nothing to do with me being a fan of the Ravens. It has everything to do with the fact that he was out almost half the season, and he still tied second amongst all tight ends with 6 touchdowns. So, and there's 5 tight ends tied with that number. As far as the NFC, we agree. George Kittle, Sam Laporta. George Kittle for the 49ers, Sam Laporta for the Lions, and I also have T.J. Hockenson for the Vikings. Moving on to defensive tackles. We agree here as well. They got 3. I ended up picking 2 for linemen and linebackers. I have Justin Madubuike for the Ravens and Chris Jones from the Chiefs. I also, for the NFC, have Daniel Hunter. They have him as an outside linebacker. I thought he was a defensive tackle. And I also have Aaron Donald for the Rams. I think those two would make a dynamic duo in that defensive tackle position. Next up, we have defensive ends. Once again, I only have two, but me and the NFL seem to agree. For the AFC, I have Trey Hendricks for the Bengals, Myles Garrett from the Browns, and I also had Max Crosby as an honorable mention, but as you can see, he's actually in. For the NFC, I have Montez Sweat for the Bears and Aiden Hutchinson for the Lions. As you can see, both of those guys got in. Moving on to outside linebackers. Once again, I only have two. But for the AFC, of course, TJ Watt for the Steelers and Khalil Mack for the Chargers. We agree there. I also had Josh Allen as an honorable mention. As far as the NFC goes, I have Micah Parsons and Kayvon, I can't say his name, Thibodeau for the Giants. Hassan Reddick, I can also see why he's in. Moving on to inside linebackers. For the AFC, they have Roquan and Patrick Queen from the Baltimore Ravens. Sometimes, also with my list, I feel like some positions make a great duo. I can see why Patrick McQueen is in, but I believe Zaire Franklin for the Colts and Logan Wilson for the Bengals actually aren't to be in. For the NFC, I agree with Bobby Wagner from the Seahawks, and I can agree with Fred Warner for the 49ers, but I believe Bobby Okereke for the Giants should have got in. Man, what a snub. Moving on to cornerbacks. This is where me and the NFL totally disagree. For the AFC, dynamic duos again. I have Derek Stingley Jr. for the Texans and Steven Nelson for the Texans. I also have Greg Newsome II from the Browns and Martin Emerson from the Browns. Another pick that I have is L'Jarius Sneed from the Chiefs. Now, I feel like Jalen Ramsey and Sauce Walker. I feel like Jalen Ramsey from the Dolphins and Sauce Gardner from the Jets are pretty much just winning a popularity contest. I can't say too much about Pat Surtain for the Broncos and Denzel Ward for the Browns. Moving on to the NFC, I have Charvarius Ward for the 49ers, Deron Bland for the Cowboys, Darius Slay for the Eagles, and Paulson Debo for the Saints. The guys who actually got in were Jalen Johnson, and I can see Devon Witherspoon. I'm not too much surprised about that. Moving on to safeties. For the AFC, another dynamic duo. Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens, and I don't see how in the world Geno Stone does not make it in with first among all safeties and second in the league in interceptions. But hey, it's a lot of people who done got snubbed. That's why I'm doing this list. But Justin Simmons and Minkah Fitzpatrick, I can see Minkah probably making it over Geno Stone, but really neither one of those guys. As far as the NFC, I have Jesse Bates for the Falcons and Antonio Winfield Jr. How Antonio Winfield Jr. doesn't make it in for the Buccaneers at all, I have no clue. But Budda Baker, great player. Julian Love, I don't know how he's in, but he's in. An honorable mention for my cornerbacks, Rasul Douglas. I don't know if he got traded from Buffalo to Washington, Washington to Buffalo, but He had great outstanding numbers, so I put him as an honorable mention because I didn't know which side of the field to put him on. Moving on to punters. For the AFC, I have Bryce Behringer for the Patriots. But as you can see, Brian Anger got in. For the NFC, I have AJ Cole for the Raiders. Kickers. For the AFC, of course, Justin Tucker is who I have in. And Brandon Aubrey for the Cowboys. Easy picks. We agree there. Kick returners. We agree for the AFC with Marvin Mims for the Broncos. As far as the NFC, I feel as though Keshawn Nixon for the Packers should have got in. But this guy, Rashid Shaheed, got in. And I believe the only reason why... No, I'm sorry. I could see that him being in the punt return position and Keshawn Nixon being in the kick return position. But I feel like Keshawn Nixon can do both. They pretty much have the same numbers at punt return. Rashid Shaheed just has a touchdown. The only difference. But, yeah, those are my picks for the Pro Bowl. Now, moving on for Offensive Player of the Year, but Tyreek Hill just deserves it. So, Tyreek Hill for my Offensive Player of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year, I've got two guys. I've got TJ Watt. It was a tough choice between him and Myles Garrett, but I'm going to go with TJ Watt. And if I had to pick an NFC guy, I'm going to go with Daniel Hunter. As for Offensive Rookie of the Year, I actually did do an AFC and an NFC. For the AFC Offensive Rookie of the Year, I have CJ Stroud, over 3,600 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Great ratio there with 3 rushing touchdowns of 143 yards. Of course, for the NFC, I have Puka Nacua for the Rams. 82 catches, over 1,100 yards, 4 touchdowns. Easy choice. For Defensive Rookie of the Year, I have Jalen Carter for the Philadelphia Eagles. 27 tackles. 27 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 4 sacks, and 1 defensive touchdown. Those are great numbers for a rookie. And for the AFC, I have Will Anderson for the Texans. 42 tackles, 5 sacks, 7 sacks. And an honorable mention, Byron Young. 52 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Had to go with that guy as well. For my comeback player of the year, Khalil Mack, man. That guy fell off the map at one point in time. I was like, what happened to Khalil Mack? And he just resurfaced and showed why he got all that big money for the Chargers. Glad to see him back. For my MVP, a lot of people believe Lamar Jackson will be the MVP. This is another reason why I didn't pick Offensive Player of the Year, because Christian McCaffrey could have been the Offensive Player of the Year from the NFC. But my MVP, I do believe, should be Christian McCaffrey. I believe that team probably wouldn't have got as far as they did without him. He's leading all running backs by over 500 yards from scrimmage. He's got these guys blown out the water, and the only other guy who's got as many touchdowns as him is Raheem Mostert. The yards is crazy, like scoring every game, almost every game. Like, without him, I don't think Brock Purdy looks as good, because when you have a run game like that and you have a young quarterback, it's easier for him to make those plays. Lamar Jackson, don't get me wrong, he's very valuable to the Ravens, but without him, I don't think we win a lot of those games. He is the whole substance to that team, but Christian McCaffrey also has the numbers to go with the substance. So I believe he's legit the MVP. With that being said, that wraps up the video. I mean, you guys let me know what you think about my picks. If you have a list, or if you want to talk about my list, or who you think should have got in at certain positions, comment down below. If you like the video, obviously click the like, subscribe. Man, you gotta feel this. You know what I mean? Shit, I'm out.